Hi everyone and welcome to WebVR. Today we're going to check out the HTC Vive Flow, which looks like this. And I mean, it looks super cool in my opinion. It's just fun with VR headsets, which of course are very futuristic, kind of cyberpunk looking technology in itself when they do take interesting designs. So here we have like a mirror kind of vibe here. Looks like bug's eyes or a fly or whatever. Very simple, very light head-mounted display, easy to pack. Comes also with this pouch that you can keep it in. Would be no problem to have this in a backpack or anything like that. But this isn't your typical VR headset. I saw a headline which described the Vive Flow as the headset for those who don't like VR. And I guess that's kind of true. This isn't something that you would buy for gaming. This isn't something that you would buy for any heavy rendered applications. It's a simple product that is trying to cater more into the wellness or experience, meditation kind of vibe in the VR community. So in many ways, it's like, what are you trying to do here, HTC? I mean, VR is already like a super small market, right? And amongst those who actually do purchase VR equipment, they purchase it for gaming. That's sort of my initial reaction, but then again, I run the YouTube channel WebVR, which is not focusing on gaming in VR, so I might as well be commenting on my own niche. This is, in many ways, at least on paper, the perfect VR headset for the kind of content that we're exploring here on this channel. So WebVR is an alternative YouTube channel that focuses on non-gaming VR and experimental applications on focuses such as art, meditation, anything consciousness expanding basically, but also productivity in terms of work. We're going to look at that a bit later in this channel. But it's an odd choice for HTC, but I think it's really interesting, especially because they are playing with a lot of things that are important for the VR community. One of the things is the form factor. This is a really, really small headset. It's really light. It looks very interesting. And it's not too expensive either. But in terms of the package itself, it comes in this box. Very small box, doesn't really contain very much. You get, of course, the headset, a small pouch that you can carry it in, and there is a cable. And the reason there is a cable and the reason they are able to keep this so light, so simple, is that you need a power bank to run it. So here's my power bank. I've been using this for the Oculus Quest, sort of as having it on my back here, using tape just to balance out the weight. This one you can keep in your pocket with the cable that follows. And that's of course how they can keep it this simple and light. In terms of the head-mounted display design itself, you can of course take these out, and you have this cloth that is supposed to remove the light from the lenses. But this has a very nice design. You can just pop it off. It's magnetic, and you can here also see more on the lenses. Now the lenses is definitely one of the most interesting aspects of this product, and it makes me really positive in terms of any future VR head-mounted display designs. So you may have seen our review and comparison of the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro 2, and it's Fresnel lenses. They are unfortunately the common approach to lenses in VR today, and it's just not something that I like very much because you get the glare from the sort of rings in the lenses themselves, especially in bright light. There's a lot of glare. You can see these, and I don't think it provides a nice experience, which is why the Gear VR mod on the HTC Vive and the HTC Vive Pro has been such a success. So here we finally have something interesting in that regard. We have glass lenses back on the menu. So in addition to it being glass lenses, you can see these numbers here. So it's possible to turn these and get different focus. Now, in the beginning, when I tried these on and read the instruction manual, it said that I couldn't use my glasses. And that kind of sucks because, yeah, I use glasses and I would then have to switch to contact lenses every time I use this. So this is sort of the headset that you would use on a plane, a train, at home, in your couch when you're trying to relax, or yeah, for any experience of that sort. And for me, that would just ruin the potential of using this as part of my everyday. So, but that isn't really something to worry about, and that's what's so fantastic about these kind of lenses. So for me, we have a video, by the way, on whether you should use glasses in VR. Long story short there, you absolutely should in most cases, but of course having prescription lenses inserted into the head-mounted display itself would be great. But this isn't really an issue with these kind of lenses. So I remember for the Samsung Gear VR that I didn't have to use lenses in that headset. And that was also glass lenses, and it's about the way the focus is designed in the lens to redirect light, obviously. But for the modern Fresnel lenses, you do need glasses or some correction for this to work. Here, however, when I turned them on the first time, I couldn't see much, everything was blurry, but they had this tutorial where you are adjusting these wheels to make it fit your eyes. And I have like a -2 approximately on each eye, and I see perfectly in this VR headset without any prescription. So I can't remember exactly what this technology is called now, but this is, yeah, just fantastic. So I can use these perfectly without any lenses. And there is quite little glare, at least the kind of Fresnel glare where you can see the rings around, the content being sort of reflected in these rings. There is nothing of that. So long story short, in terms of the lenses, it's really interesting. It works really well. But now it's time to actually take a look at some of the content. I made some recordings when I tried some different applications. And after I show you this, I will give my sort of final review on how I imagine this to be used, its limitations, and also future potential, especially in terms of the lightness of this VR head-mounted display and the lens design, which I would really like to see adopted in other kinds of VR technology. So let's take a look. The Vive Flow powers on automatically when it's connected to a power bank or a PC. For me, power from the smartphone was not enough, unfortunately, but at the same time, I don't think I'd prefer to use more of my phone battery than necessary. In order to interact with the headset at all, you need a controller, which can only be one of the supported Android phones. iOS is not supported currently. Personally, I use my Samsung Galaxy S21 for this video. Now, as is to be expected, there aren't as many apps available for these VR glasses as there are on the Oculus Store or any other PC library like Steam VR. There is not support for many newer games, and this of course makes sense because it only has one tracked controller, which is not properly tracked in 6 degrees of freedom. That does not mean that there isn't content there, however. One of the great assets that I like to see is that it has a Firefox Reality browser. This means that it should be perfect for any VR meetings in Mozilla Hubs, or just as a preview headset for anyone developing WebVR content, or enjoying it for that matter. Because this headset is so very light and easy to bring with you and connect, it's a great headset for previewing VR scenes during WebXR development, where you can just bookmark your VR dev environment and develop it on the go. Currently, I am in the Hello WebXR page, which shows different possibilities of environments, interactivity, spatial audio, etc. using the WebXR standard. This worked really well, although one does notice that it isn't a very powerful headset in terms of smooth refresh rates and so on. That being said, I did not notice any nausea. Now, because the phone controller uses the internal measurement unit of the phone, its movements are not silky smooth either. And in some applications, you really get a feeling that things are slowing down a bit because of the older mobile chips that they're probably using in the Vive Flow itself. Now, something that I wondered about in regards to this headset was whether it indeed had room scale options available, or if it was only rotational tracking in 3 degrees of freedom, like on the Oculus Go. Luckily, I can confirm that it does have room scale tracking, and you can choose between different room sizes as Guardian. In this WebXR environment, for instance, I can walk across my room and navigate in the WebVR environment. The phone controller is more like the 3 degrees of freedom controller of the Oculus Go, but it also tracks the height of the controller, so it is somewhat usable. During a session, the controller has a tendency to drift rotationally, but luckily there is an easily available recenter option by holding 2 fingers on the smartphone touchscreen. Apart from the browser, there are several relaxation apps like Trip and Helium. Helium is not a very good app in my opinion. It has some basic breathing meditation, but the 360 videos are monoscopic and not in very high resolution or bitrate, as you can see here. Trip VR, on the other hand, looks quite good, and the session using it is comfortable because of the lightness of the VR headset. You can see our video review of Trip here, where we filmed it on a Quest 1. The experience is pretty much the same on the Vive Flow, except that Vive Flow is far more comfortable to wear. Deep is also another meditation app of this sort, but I must admit that I end up finding them a bit boring after having used them for a while, and I did not like this one as much as Trip. I also tried out some general VR experiences like this one from Alice in Wonderland, which had a really interesting and cool old school print aesthetic that I liked a lot, as if they turned old illustrations alive in VR. Also, for some reason, this weird Japanese app was also highlighted as something to try out, but this was just weird. Vibrant was also a cool app that worked really well, which allows you to color virtual environments as a chill pastime activity. This one also looked really good in my opinion, and the controller worked fine to interact with the application. In terms of social gatherings, it's really a shame that this headset does not have VR chat support. That would really change the game in my opinion, but no. It is possible to have virtual meetings in WebVR and Mozilla Hubs though, but the supported solution that they advertise is Vive Sync. I did not get to try its social features because I do not know anyone else who has Vive Sync, but the environments that you can be in, the meeting setup and so on, looks nice. There are some chill cafe environments, for instance, where you can draw on whiteboards, pull up browser windows and so on, but there is currently no support for screen sharing, although it looks as if it's coming. As I'm also checking out the Vive Focus 3 these days, however, my experiences of Vive Sync is a bit colored by how much poorer the experience is on the Vive Flow, or how much better it is on the Vive Focus 3. On the Vive Flow, you can't really draw meaningfully with this controller, but it does show you chill environments where you have a browser available and can listen to music, and, presumably, invite people into your space where you are both represented with avatars. Alright, so to conclude, I think that this is a really interesting product. It does, however, feel a little bit like going back a few years in terms of the graphical resolution and the tracking and the screen type. So in terms of graphics, it's kind of comparable to the Oculus Quest 1, but there is no OLED display. So it's like the Oculus Quest 1 with an LCD display, so it doesn't have the same blacks, it just feels a bit cheap in terms of the resolution, in terms of the refresh rate and so on. So for a lot of applications, for instance, I found the refresh rate to be, it felt like 30 hertz. It felt like 30 images per second, and the sort of benefit of this, or what makes it acceptable, I suppose, is that this is really for experiences where you are sitting, where you are not very active, and it did not make me nauseous, not at all. It just wasn't as smooth in terms of the graphics. So this isn't a headset where you are running around, where you need the high refresh rates, but the sort of lack of using the native resolution sometimes, the lack of anti-aliasing, or I don't think I've ever pronounced that word in English when I think of it. It just feels a bit like you're really running some old chips in terms of the graphical processing power. Some applications take more advantage of or are more tuned, more customized, more optimized to utilize this hardware, such as Trip. I thought that actually looked really nice. but you definitely notice that there is, it just feels a bit like a step back in terms of that. On the other hand, it is something that is accessible, and it does have sort of, at least in comparison to, I mean, in many ways, this is trying to be what the Oculus Go was, right? Something that you could just pop up on a plane, and it feels kind of like an Oculus Go in that regard as well, because of the controller. So you're, of course, using your phone as a controller. I think that the Oculus Quest controller, the Oculus Go controller was 3 degrees of freedom. So you could really it's hard to classify in terms of that. But the phone, you can also bring it up and down. I don't think you could ever do that with the Oculus Go controller. But there are issues of the controller drifting, and it isn't as smooth as a regular controller. It works, but it isn't as smooth. That being said, there are a lot of great innovations in this product. The lightness, the fit on your face, it's really great. Actually, I tried it for a few hours. I had no eye strain. I had no pain or any struggle to get the focus right. It did maybe tend to drip down on my face, losing the focus for a few times. But I sort of learned eventually how to place it on my head. And the lenses are really great. And I think, I just would like to see an XR2 chip in this thing. Maybe up the resolution a bit, or potentially use OLED screens for this, because the resolution seems to be about the same as the Oculus Quest 1. So or the HTC Vive Pro or whatever. So why not just go that route? It has also fan noise, slightly. It didn't really bother me that much. I didn't use headphones. The sound was quite good. So I think that there is a lot of potential in this product. Would I buy it personally? Depends a bit more on the applications that are going to come, that I'm going to check out. There are some games there in the library. I didn't check them all out, but I can sort of recognize them from the Oculus Go era. So these are more sort of course, sitting games where you don't move that much, and I won't be using it for that. So as for me personally, on this YouTube channel, I'll definitely keep exploring this product. I think it's really great. I don't know their long-term vision. Maybe this can be something if you get some better resolution and some better hardware to run this, because it just feels like it's going a bit slow and it takes my attention somewhat. But at this YouTube channel, we are also going to see what this is capable of. What would be the ideal VR application for this product, and maybe we can create it ourselves. So if you're interested in this, we're also going to be developing for the Vive Flow over the next months, and I'm going to show you some of the applications that you can run on it, and try to take a deeper dive then. But to conclude, it's a fascinating piece of technology because just of how it looks. The lens design is amazing, the form factor is really cool. And I'll also be trying to use this in various settings, being the weird guy on the plane or the bus or whatever, and try to actually use this as part of my everyday. Maybe for some daily meditations in Trip VR, for instance. So would I buy this personally? I got this through the university where I'm teaching a course. I'm not sure yet. Unfortunately, I think it's really cool. The only thing that troubles me in the VR space is that there's going to be a release next year or in 2 years. And it depends on your use of the VR medium. If you have a headset from before, what role you think that it will have in your life and so on. But there is a lot of interesting things that I hope that they carry on here into other headsets, maybe more powerful. Because they now seem to have tracking figured out, at least to an extent. which also goes for the Focus 3, where they have 4 cameras. This one only has 2. You can see them here at the bottom. And yeah, I'm sort of happy and disappointed at the same time, just because it wasn't that graphically impressive, but it's a really interesting product. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, that it helped you gain a new perspective on what kind of headset that this is. And if you are interested in experimental and alternative approaches to VR beyond gaming, then be sure to subscribe to the AltVR YouTube channel. Thank you.